Welcome back to another episode of Let's Get After It. Today what we're getting after is shock travel. It's not really talked about a lot outside of racing circles and highly technical conversations. Most people just kind of go blank when you start talking about shock travel, up travel, down travel, all that kind of stuff. It's not something that generally is talked about a lot with customers. It's not a question we get a ton about, but I do see enough where it should be talked about. I just don't think people are talking about it because they don't know what to say or they're not really familiar with it. So we're gonna go a real brief kind of class here in shock up travel, shock down travel, and what you can actually look at on your own vehicle. Go out in your driveway, your parking lot right now, and look at what I'm talking about as it relates to your vehicle. So in its basic terms, shocks travel two ways. They travel up, they travel down. And this works whether it's a shock, it works if it's a coilover, it works if it's a strut in a Honda Civic. The numbers are different, but the basic premise is the same. As the tire travels up, you're hitting a speed bump, you're off-road, you're hitting a rock, whatever. Anything that causes that tire to move vertically up is up travel. Anything that causes that tire to drop or droop is gonna be down travel. Any shock, strut, coilover, whatever, is gonna have a stroke. And that stroke is basically how far can that shock travel total? Is it a 4.5, 5.5 inch on a strut? Is it a 12-inch shock? Is it a 14-inch coilover? Whatever. That number is just, all that really means is from fully compressed, shock shaft all the way up in the shock body, to fully drooped, shock completely extended. If you just let it go and put it on the floor, what would it extend to? The difference there is your stroke. Generally in Jeeps, you're gonna see a lot of shocks in the 9.5 to 11.5 range. That's what you're gonna see with a lot of stuff off the shelf. When you start getting over that, you're into the kind of the higher end aftermarket stuff, the 12-inch, 13-inch, 14-inch, 16-inch, that you can get crazy on them. So, but generally you're gonna see that high single digit, low double digit number. And what we're looking at is shock travel, yes, but how do we set that shock kind of in the middle or biased one way or the other based on what you're doing with the vehicle? What do I mean by that? Let's say you have a 12-inch, we're gonna use that because it's a nice round number. You have a 12-inch shock and you go out to your vehicle right now, go out to your 12-inch shock and you look, and you only see 3 inches of that shock shaft, which is the shaft that's coming out, that's the shaft that goes up and down. That means you're on a 12-inch shock, you have 3 inches of up travel available to you. That means I can only push that shock up 3 inches, but I can go down 9 inches. That is not a setup we want to see. I do not want to see a 3-inch up travel with 9 inches of down travel. That's going to be a rough ride. You're not going to get very far up before you've bottomed that shock out, and it's like a log wagon because you're bottoming that shock out every time. So that's not good. I've seen it. Generally what that means is you've got a shock that is too long. And by that I mean the body. That's something you would see if you had you bought a shock for a 4.5-inch lift, but you have a 2.5-inch lift, that kind of thing. So that's something you want to see. If on a street-driven vehicle, your regular off-the-shelf Fox, Bilstein, whatever, you're going to want to see. Most of them are going to design it to be about half and half. 6 and 6, 7 and 5, 5 and 7, somewhere in that mid-range, because that vehicle's not built for a specific purpose. So they're going to make an off-the-shelf shock to fit as many situations as they can think of. They're not going to build for the 5%, they're going to build for the 95%. So that's what you're going to see. So if you've got a 10-inch shock and you go out there and look, you want to see 5 inches of shock shaft showing, great. That sounds pretty good. That sounds like you're going to be doing pretty well. Things are going good for you, and you're going to be, sounds like you got the right shock for the job. There are applications that would be different. If we go into the desert, we go racing, we want a lot of up travel, right? We're going really fast. We're hitting stuff really hard. We want that tire to be able to move up a lot and fast. So if we had a 12-inch, we may be looking for 8 inches of up and only 4 inches of down. We're not crumbing rocks. We don't need droop. So we're going to do that differently based on what we're doing. Whereas if we were only going in the rocks, I might want a little less up travel, but a whole lot of droop, a whole lot of down travel. Of course, a lot of things get connected to that, right? If you got a lot of down travel, we got to make sure your brake lines, your locker line, all that stuff comes into play. Do we have to do limit straps, all that? But just for the simple point of shock travel and knowing what it is and knowing how to look and see if yours are right, that's kind of the the 101 level class on shock travel, just being up and down. So Generally speaking, specifications on your shock are not generally hard to find. You know, a quick Google search, there's some websites out there that have it. You can contact an off-road shop, you can contact us. Shouldn't be too hard for you to find, so you know what you should have versus what you do have. So just making sure that you got the right amount of travel so that you're riding the best, so that it is for the best for your situation. You know, we don't want to have, we don't want to have a ton of droop and no up travel for a race car, but I also don't want to have a ton of up travel and no down travel for a rock racer, a rock crawler, or whatever. So, but generally speaking, you're going to be right around that half and half range for the daily street driven rig, and even for most lightly off-roaded vehicles that don't have purpose-built shocks or coilovers for that vehicle. Just understanding, looking at it. Again, you can go out to your vehicle right now after this video and take a look. Just looking at your shock and knowing, taking a measurement to it and going, okay, all right, that's what I've got. It will help you be a better driver because all right, well, my tire's gonna come up about this much before I'm in the bump stop, or I've bottomed out the shock, or whatever. And you're gonna be able to be in tune with your vehicle a lot more. It's gonna make you a better driver, especially off-road. And just gonna make you more comfortable in your vehicle. And the more comfortable you are and the more you know your vehicle, obviously the better wheeler you're gonna be, the more competent wheeler you're gonna be, and the more comfortable wheeler you're gonna be. So just take a look at that. Go out and look. I encourage everybody to go look, know what you got, be educated about what you got, and know what you're looking at. Because just knowing what you're looking at, that's half the battle right there. So take a look, check it out for yourself, see if you got the right stuff. If you don't, hey, hit us up. Hit up your local off-road shop, your trusted professional, whatever. Get it right so that you got what you want and you're happy with your vehicle.